Here is the news at noon. First, the highlights. Governor Sanwo-Olu votes, urges massive turnout as elections hold in local government, local council development areas of Lagos State. Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited gives hint at selling Port Harcourt, Warri, Kaduna refineries. On a foreign team, Gaza ceasefire talks on verge of collapse. And in sports, Nigeria set for West Africa Deaf Championships. And now the details. I am Akan Usen. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has urged voters in the state to come out en masse to exercise their civic rights in the ongoing local government elections across the state. Governor Sanwo-Olu stated this at polling unit 006, St. Stephen Nursery and Primary School, Adeniji-Adele Road, where he voted alongside his wife, Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu. The governor described the process as free and fair, as the local government is the closest to the grassroots, hence the need for good governance.
I'm also glad that we have, a peaceful weather. So I expect that, the time we have used for people to express their civic rights, they would use it well, and everything will be done, will be conducted peacefully, and at the end of the day, we want to commend the effort of LASEC. I saw one of their commissioners here. I also want to thank all the state equivalent of LASEC that have also come to watch and to observe, what we're doing here in Lagos. And want to generally just commend all you gentlemen of the press. You have taken this very seriously as a national election, and we're indeed very, very happy that you've given it all the right reportage, you've given it all the coverage that is needed.
Our reporter Adeola Akindele reports that accreditation and voting started as early as 8 a.m. at polling units 006 and 007 with adequate security in place. Also from Lagos Island, our reporter Aderayo Idowolaya reports that the atmosphere is calm and orderly, with election officials and party agents arriving ahead of schedule to prepare for the day's exercise. Aderayo Idowolaya reports that the presiding officer of polling units 018, Simon Adigbinga, confirmed that voting officially began at 8 a.m. with the opening conducted in the presence of the lawmaker representing Lagos Island Constituency 2, Lanre Afini, who supervised the initial steps of the process.
The voting process is still on. As you can see, we have candidates to vote, so people that want to cast their vote. People are coming out. The turnout I think is okay. People are coming out for the election.
From Oshodi, Solo local government area, our reporter Zainab Adibeshin reports that voting is being delayed due to the late arrival of election materials. But Zainab Adibeshin, who visited polling units in areas like Mafoluku, Shogunle and Bolade, reports that voters are waiting while security personnel are on ground to maintain order. From Ogba to Ikeja environs, our reporter Kayode Mafolashere reports that election materials were not available as at 8 a.m. From Ikorodu, our reporter Adeswa Ejoyoka reports that election materials were deployed promptly and voting has commenced. There was slow start to voting and accreditation throughout Ikotun, Igondo, as voting materials did not arrive until close to 10 a.m., though security officials were seen in some of these polling stations awaiting voting officials and materials as they arrived early for the exercise. The situation was the same around Okota, Agopaleswe, Ejigbo, and Celestial in that axis. But the situation was different in the Ajerumi Felodun local government area as voting began there as early as scheduled. In most of the polling stations in the area, particularly those on Ojo Road, Okoya, MBA, Kadoso, voters were seen on the queue as early as 9 a.m. waiting to cast their votes. Our correspondent, Babatunde Akinyemi, who visited the collation center inside the local government, witnessed more materials going out to various polling units in the local government area. in the Apapa local government area. While voting started as early as 9 a.m. in some voting units, many more were yet to receive voting materials, thereby delaying accreditation for some few voters waiting to cast their votes. Our correspondent observed an improvement in the level of security provided for these elections in the areas visited. As voters exercise their civil rights across the Ajeromi Felodun local government area, the outgoing chairman, Fatai Ayola, has assured them of adequate security presence across the local government. Ayola, who spoke with our reporter, Babatunde Akinyemi, explained that local government's role is to provide adequate arrangements in the areas of security and logistics to ensure a conducive environment for residents to vote. He urged residents to come out en masse to vote the political party and candidates of their choice in the position of chairmanship and councillorship. Also, outgoing chairman Oshodi Solo local government, Kehinde Oloyede, has urged every eligible resident to come out and peacefully to cast their votes for the candidate of their choice. Oloyede, who spoke with our reporter Zainab Adibeshin, appealed to parents and guardians to warn their children and wards to stay away from any unlawful activity that could disrupt the peace of the election. He also assured that adequate security arrangements have been put in place and security agencies are fully prepared to ensure a safe and hitch-free electoral process before, during, and after the elections. As the voting process gets underway across Lagos, the National Orientation Agency (NOA) has called on citizens to conduct themselves peacefully and follow due process to ensure a smooth and credible election. Speaking with our reporter Adewale Olowopoku during a monitoring exercise, Deputy Director of the NOA in Lagos, Abodorin Dawodu, emphasized the need for orderliness at polling units. Dawodu advised voters to queue properly, collect their ballot papers, make their choice, and drop their votes in the designated boxes.
The right on the party of their choice, then fold it and drop it in the ballot box. Then at the same time, they have to be orderly, conduct the election in a peaceful manner. Then if they want, they can wait for the counting of the papers when it's done. But if not, they have to go back to their various homes and let there be peace.
She noted that while voters are free to remain at the polling stations to observe the counting process, they are encouraged to return home peacefully once they have cast their votes if they do not wish to wait. Commenting on the role of the NOA and other observers, Dawodu stated that their primary mandate is to promote peace and prevent unrest at voting centers through prompt sensitization. Meanwhile, officials of the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission who spoke with our reporter said there are 2 boxes for the local government polls, which are green for chairmen and yellow for councillors. And now to the rest of the stories. The Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPCL, Bayo Ojulari, has hinted on the possibility of selling the Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna refineries. Ojulari gave the hint in an interview on the sidelines of the 9th OPEC International Seminar in Vienna, Austria, stating that the country had invested heavily in the refineries without seeing any tangible results. He said a strategic review of NNPC's refinery operations is underway and expected to be concluded before the end of the year. It will be recalled that the NNPC had on November 26, 2024, announced that the Port Harcourt refinery had officially commenced crude oil processing, but the refinery shut down in May for maintenance. The national oil firm said the Warri and Kaduna refineries were still undergoing rehabilitation. The federal government approved $1.5 billion for the rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt refinery in Rivers State in March 2021. Now to foreign news. Negotiations between Israel and Hamas in Qatar on a new Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal are on the brink of collapse. According to Palestinian officials, Israel had bought time during Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to Washington this week and deliberately stalled the process by sending a delegation to Doha with no real authority to make decisions on key points of contention. They include the withdrawal of Israeli troops and humanitarian aid distribution. Before he left the U.S. on Thursday, Netanyahu had maintained a positive tone, saying he hoped to complete an agreement in a few days. He said the proposed deal will see Hamas release half of the 20 living hostages it is still holding and just over half of the 30 dead hostages during a truce lasting 60 days. Now sports. In commemoration of the 50th golden anniversary of the Economic Community of West African States, Nigeria is poised to host the 13th edition of the West Africa Deaf Football Tournament and the 3rd West Africa Deaf Athletics Championships, scheduled to take place at the MKO Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, from August 18 to 30. President of the West Africa Deaf Sports Union, Amuda Yusuf, maintained that both competitions will be used in selecting qualified athletes and country teams for future global tournaments such as the Deaf Olympics, All Africa Deaf Games, and Confederation of Africa Deaf Football Championship. Yusuf reiterated that such events will foster integration and inclusive participation of deaf athletes in organized sports events in every country in the region, such as the National Sports Festival and school sports meets. He added that the competitions will showcase and maximize their abilities while also earning a living and gaining recognition in the process. A total of 12 countries from the West African region, including Liberia, Ghana, Togo, Burkina Faso, Sierra Leone, Mali, Niger, Senegal, Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, have registered their interest in being a part of both competitions. And that's all for the news at noon. But just before we go, slow down at road junctions, intersections, and pedestrian crossings. You can follow us and like all our various social media platforms. On X at Traffic Radio 961, Facebook Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM, Instagram Lagos Traffic Radio 961. On YouTube, subscribe and watch us live on our channel, Traffic Radio 961. Visit our website on www.trafficradio961.ng. You can also listen to Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM live on My Lagos app for timely updates. Did you know that the Sanwo-Olu administration introduced the Lagos Economic Acceleration Program, LEAP, to reduce the effect of COVID-19 pandemic on small businesses? You can get more details on the Lagos State government's website. To end the news, here are the highlights of the major stories. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has urged voters in the state to come out en masse to exercise their civic rights in the ongoing local government elections across the state. The Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Bayo Ojulari, has hinted on the possibility of selling the Port Harcourt, Warri and Kaduna refineries. We also told you that negotiations between Israel and Hamas in Qatar on a new Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal are on the brink of collapse. And in sport, in commemoration of the 50th golden anniversary of the Economic Community of West African States, Nigeria is poised to host the 13th edition of the West Africa Deaf Football Tournament and the 3rd West Africa Deaf Athletics Championships, scheduled to take place at the MKO Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, from August 18 to 30. For contact with the newsroom, please send a message to info@trafficradio961.ng. And that ends the news broadcast compiled by Abiola Fagbolagun. I am Akan Usen. Thanks for listening and please stay safe. Good afternoon.